Hey everybody, welcome. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is in theaters now. We are going to dig into it right now on Flicker Effect. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey.
Hey, that's my line. Hey.
I said it a
Stole it
few
from
more
you.
times just so that it wasn't your line.
Hey.
I guess it is that time. We are going to get into some Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And as we normally like to do, we'll start it off with a little bit of non-spoilery stuff for everyone who hasn't had a chance to see it yet. Then we'll let you know with a big old banner that says spoilers that we're getting into it. So that's your time to skedaddle if you haven't seen it. And you'll at least know what we thought of it beforehand. So with that, we still need to pick the order in which we're going to go for tonight. And David, you have the bowl to do the honors of picking the order.
Picking in the order. Guardians of the Galaxy. You guys ready?
Bowl of Destiny.
Ready. Been ready.
All right.
Watch, it'll be me first since I said I've been ready.
Playing that trombone, huh?
It is Bobby.
See, I knew it. I had a feeling.
Jackson, let's go.
All right, let's
hold it
get
to the
into
camera.
it.
I know it's not. You kind of.
No, it's not. But I
Who's
believe you
second?
because I already had a feeling I was going to be first tonight, so I was really ready.
Who was
for it,
second?
so. Oh, we haven't got. Oh,
I haven't gotten there yet. I just pulled
picking
one
on
over.
the fly.
All right.
So I'll get right into it. Volume 3, James Gunn, his last movie for the MCU before he heads over to DC and starts to run shop over there. Highly anticipated movie, obviously, as we have a lot of characters returning and some that will be moving on in a sense because some of the actors have said that this is their last time portraying these roles. So obviously I had a lot of anticipation going into this one because I've liked the first two movies. And for me, this is the second movie of Phase 5, and it was easily, obviously, only of the two, this and Ant-Man, the better of the two movies in Phase 5. I would just say I really love this movie quite a bit. I can't wait till we get into spoilers to really talk about it a lot. I'll just say that even though I like Quantumania, and I know a lot of people didn't, and I know a lot of people are not that great on Phase 4 in general, and the start to Phase 5, I've liked Phase 4 and I liked Quantumania. But with this movie, you can just tell it's a cut above all those other things. It has James Gunn's signature to it, into where there's that level of authorship to this is a James Gunn movie. It has a lot of heart, it has a lot of character depth and growth and arcs, and I think that the story was solid. Everyone has a time to shine. It's got good action to it, and I think it just had all those good elements that you normally would see from a MCU movie, but some of the from the earlier phases. And this was done in a way that was reminiscent of that, but still wholly James Gunn and done in a way that is just, I think, what more people would like to see from the MCU. That being said, there's like maybe some nitpicks I have here and there, but ultimately I really dug this a lot. And this is the first movie in a while that I think I could say that even though I've liked Phase 4 and liked Quantumania, that this is the first movie I feel like I'm anxious to go back to see it again in the theater before it leaves theaters. So I probably will see it again this weekend just to be able to get some more of that out of there. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's my non-spoiler review. So David, who's up
All right.
next?
Person number 2. Michelle.
Mm.
Again, I'm holding it for no reason.
Clarification. Fuzzy
anyway.
Clarification.
Yeah.
So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yeah, I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I definitely think it was better than the second Guardians. There's, as Bobby said, a lot of heart, a lot of character development. I mean, it definitely kind of gets into some dark places in this one, but overall, it's still a really great story, and it unfolds in a really spectacular way. It gives us a really, really, really bad villain, just absolutely a horrible creature being. I don't know, I think he's human, but he's just bad, 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 big bad. Um, yeah, no, I think it wrapped up the Guardians story, at least with James Gunn, in a very spectacular way. And I think it's a return, I think, to James's storytelling the way he wanted Guardians to be told. I'm very, very happy with it. I'm happy with the performances in it, and all around, I think a job. Good job.
So you're happy.
I'm happy. I liked it.
My turn. Sorry, Jascha.
Yeah,
That's quite all right. That's quite all right.
He's like,
No. I called it. I called something over the weekend when I was.
That's why I
hanging out
knew you were laughing.
with Bobby. So I'm really excited to hear your review, David. I really am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really quick. I've been a big fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise so far, though. I mean, yeah, I was never a huge fan of the second one, I guess, but it's grown on me. I will admit. But with that said, I still think the first movie's better. I really enjoyed the film. It was kind of a return to form for Marvel for me. I am one of those people that is not a big fan of Phase 4 or Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And not necessarily for the reasons like a lot of people are of, oh, there's no direction. Like, I don't mind the lack of direction in Phase 4. I just don't think a lot of the movies are very good. But anyway, so overall, I've just been kind of like not as excited about seeing a Marvel film. With that said, I was excited about this one. I love James Gunn. I had high hopes. The expectations were basically met. Like, I think the movie is quite good. It's very good. I mean, maybe nitpicky things like maybe length. I is as much as I enjoyed spending as much time as I could with these characters, because this is it basically. At the same time, I mean, yeah, there's a part of me that's like, this could be shorter, but overall, I really enjoyed the film quite a bit. It was very good. So that's my quick non-spoiler take without.
Jascha, you're lucky we didn't bet on
I
that.
know we
You're
really
so
are.
lucky.
We really are. Sorry, I have a little bit of glare on my face with the blinds here. Just to give you a little insight there, David,
Okay.
I actually called. I said, I don't think David's going to like this movie very much.
Really?
And for some of the scenes that I pointed out, Bobby actually disagreed with me pretty strongly too, emphatically. He's like, no, I think he's going to like it fine. But then when I pointed out what I was talking about, he was just like, yeah, I can see that as a point of like contention as to like why he might not like it. And I'm like, that's fair. Okay, cool. So
now I'm dying to know what those things
no,
are.
it's nothing big. It's really not. It's just little tidbits here. And
Right.
just to kind of like add to like what Bobby already said, when it comes to, there's moments of the movie where it's just kind of, it's, nitpicky is the best way that you can say it. It's just nitpicky, because I overall enjoyed the film a lot too. And I'm looking forward, as Bobby is, to seeing it again in the theater. That's something that I definitely think I want to do as well. The movie was emotional as hell. I really enjoyed the character development, the growth for all of the characters, the backstories for some of the characters. It was very special to see that wrapped up in a nice, neat little package to give us a lot of closure when it comes to this film. I felt like it was almost like the watching Endgame, how Endgame had the closure for the big three. Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, they all got that closure that they were having so much turmoil in their lives. And I really felt like that was kind of what we got here. It was a great Marvel film, a lot of fun, a lot of sadness, some distraught moments, and definitely a lot of emotional moments. I'm not gonna lie, I teared up at quite a few scenes in the movie, but I really, really enjoyed learning about the characters and seeing the characters. And like Michelle said, a great villain. Like I thought he was a wonderful, wonderful depiction of a monster, because that's what you ultimately want as a bad guy, is somebody who's just a monster, but validating his own actions and trying to justify his actions. But he's just a horrible person, horrible creature. So yeah, but I loved it. I thought it was a great film.
So four happies.
We're happy.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had that for an MCU movie, I think. Where we're happy. So that's good. That's a good sign. And speaking of that, I guess to go along with that, there was a lot of people who were happy as well because it did well in the theaters this weekend. It opened to 118 million domestically, and worldwide 289 million. So to put that in a little bit of perspective, when Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania opened, it opened to about 110 million opening weekend. But then it had a steep drop off in that second week, which was like above 60%, I think. So we'll see for Guardians. I have a feeling that it will be in line with a normal drop off, which is around 50% or something. So I could easily see this one having some decent legs until the end of the month when some of the other bigger movies start to come out as well. That means that I think for this one, let's see, I saw on Rotten Tomatoes it was like a 95% audience score. So obviously, if the people are loving it, they're going to probably want to bring friends who didn't see it and them watching it for a second time. Same way you do for a lot of movies where you know that there's something in it that's emotional and you want to see someone else's reaction to it. So you bring them and you're just going through it for a second time. So I actually see some of that repeat business being from how much, as we all sort of spoke about, how emotional this movie is. So I think it'll have some pretty decent legs throughout the rest of this month.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, with that, you guys ready to get into some spoiler action?
Let's do it. Let's get into the
All right.
conversation.
Let's do it. So there's that big old spoiler banner. So if everyone who has not had a chance to see this movie, you've heard our initial thoughts. So we're going to get into a little bit of some spoilers here. And actually, there's honestly a decent amount to talk about within this movie for spoilers. So, I mean, I guess the first place to start would just be the fact that this is Rocket's story and his origin, really, in terms of how he got to be where he is, and when we see him in the first Guardians movie. And it's crazy because I didn't know that they would frame it in that sort of way where you were getting these flashbacks of his story throughout the movie. Because when they first have Adam Warlock come to nowhere and he ends up, I think he shoots Rocket with a blast or something, and it ends up kind of hurting him in a way that's almost fatal. I was completely thrown for a loop because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, he's going to be out of commission for a little while and we'll get him back and they'll continue on with the story. But he's like that most of the movie. So I was like almost getting a little upset because I'm like, I want to see Rocket like actually doing Rocket stuff in the movie. And he's like laid out. And so we're only seeing him in a backstory where he's not really Rocket yet. And so it was kind of like, oh, okay. But then, you know, towards that third act or whatever, he comes back and then we get more Rocket stuff and the whole team interacting together. But I guess I will say to anyone that wants to answer, did you find that was a good emotional hook for this third movie, having it Rocket's story and centered around him?
I mean, yeah, I'll say, yeah, I'm with you. Like there was a big part of me that same thing. I was kind of surprised for most of the movie that I'm like, oh wow, they're really like current time Rocket is not in this much. At least,
yeah,
you know, at least most of the movie, that was the case. Like you said, like in that third act, we get to kind of see him in normal action again. But The way it was framed, even though I didn't expect that either. I mean, obviously we knew there was going to be flashbacks from the trailers and everything, but I didn't realize it was going to be kind of constantly referenced throughout the film here and there. Like I thought it would have been like an early thing, and then that would have been it. But I liked the way that James Gunn handled it, kind of how he kept going back to that aspect of the story. I thought worked for me.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think that worked out really well for me as well, because a lot of Rocket's backstory is pretty heavy. And I feel like if you think of those sequences, and if you actually mash those sequences up into one whole sequence, dear God, like that would just, I mean, it was already sad and hard to watch. I feel like seeing all of that together would have been just like, I don't know. I think it just have been way too much. I think breaking it up this way made it a lot more palatable for the audience member to take in that kind of information and to see that.
Yeah, I'll agree. When it comes to the Rocket story, I was kind of, I mean, I felt the same way that Bobby did when it first came on. It's like, you know, they took him out pretty quickly and he was gone for probably about 45 minutes. And all you did see was the development of Rocket and the backstory of Rocket and learning about who Rocket was, which was fine. But I had no idea that that's what they were going to center the story around. I had no idea that that's what it was. I mean, it's just they've leaned so heavily on just the come see Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's really it. No story or no ideas or anything like that when it comes to like what the real plot point is. But yeah, I'm with you. I wanted to see a little bit more Rocket. I was hoping for a little bit more Rocket because when it comes to, you know, when it comes down to it, it's kind of the same throughout all of them. Like, I mean, he's just not taken out. Like he is definitely a part of everything, but he's not at the forefront. But this story, like when you lose Rocket in the beginning of the movie and then you gain him back, it's not like you really lost him. He's just not quite there, I guess you can say, but it centers around him entirely. That's all it was. I mean, I don't know how many times Peter Quill said, we need to go save my best friend, save my best friend, save my best friend, over and over and over again in the movie. And it was solid. It was solid.
I mean, there was even the moment in his last like moments that he was going to have, and Layla even kind of embraces Rocket, and she's like, it's always been all about you. And I was just like, oh, this is killing me, James Gunn, with the feels.
Yeah, it really was emotional.
It was emotional.
It was a mess. It was hard to watch.
I think I teared up and cried like 4 times.
Yeah, I could see. I'd say about 3 or 4 times there was scenes where I was just like, you could feel the water welling. It never dropped out, but it was just there, and I was like, God, man,
it was there.
Like crazy.
It was
you know, it's funny.
Well, I'm a crier, so I cry all the time.
Okay, Michelle, since you said that, did you see it coming when his friends got killed? Because I totally knew. I saw them in the moment we flashed back to them. I was like, they're gonna die at some point in this movie. I don't know when, but
yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, unfortunately, if Rocket's not talking about a certain, I'm going to say person, if he's not talking about a certain interaction he has with a being, if he never references them, they're not alive anymore. Like he's never spoken about those 3 ever in his history. He hasn't spoken much about his past, but he's never spoken about them. So the fact that he doesn't talk about them is a huge indicator that they are no longer alive.
Well, I personally thought that just based off of some of the trailers, what was it, Lila or Lola?
Yeah,
Lila, I thought she would have made it because I don't know why, but one of the cuts that they had in the trailers, it showed them hugging, but it was just in a flashback scene. So I didn't think she was going to be gone, but yeah, they were all taken from him, which is it chokes me up just thinking about it. It's just like that was such a sad scene to shoot. Like it was just so heavy. I can't imagine being one of the CGI people working on that. And it's like, you want what now? Okay, just go spin around and they're just going to be dead. Okay, great. Yeah, I'll get right on that.
Yeah,
So-
I must have been a rough time in the office.
Yeah, it's a really sad day.
Pop quiz for you, David. Do you know the name of his other two friends?
What was it?
I do.
Sure. What are they? I don't know.
Floors and teeth.
Yeah, Teefs.
Teefs. Floor and teefs.
Yeah.
It's cute because James Gunn and his wife, and why am I blanking on her name? The actress Jennifer Holland. Yes.
Yeah.
So on their social media, they've been wearing t-shirts like on and off that say, Rocket, Lola, Teef's Floor. It's very cute. They're very cute shirts, actually.
That's cool.
They're really cool. You should check them. I kind of want it. So they've sported them on and off the past couple of weeks. So it's cute.
There's in my head, there's so much I want to mention, but I don't even know where to start. So I'll put it out there for anyone, and whatever good moments or what are your favorite moments of the movie that you want to talk about, because I've got a lot and I don't know how to formulate it all. So if anyone else wants to at least kick it off in terms of talking about some of their favorite moments, then.
Well, I'll say one thing, and this is actually kind of corresponds with why I thought David might not particularly care for the film. While I did like the character Adam, I didn't like what they did with him at some points, because they made him a big, strong simpleton that says funny things, and we already had one of those. And I thought that would be a problem for David, because it was a little bit of a problem for me. For taking a character that is so powerful and so badass in the comics, and then just basically making him a simpleton and using the one-liner of, well, you made me take him out before he was all the way done. I just felt like we didn't need to have another slow, kind of goofy character. He could have been a powerful guy, just as strong and passionate, and come to the realization of what he was being told to do was wrong, without having him to be, learning a lesson type of thing, as he progressed throughout the movie. I still enjoyed the character. I still enjoyed what he said and what he did and who he was. That was one of the problems that I had with the film.
I mean, I don't really have a problem with it because I don't have a background with that character. So, but it's funny you mention it, because during the movie, I was thinking, I don't know this character from a hole in the wall, but I'm sure this is not how he is in the comics. So it kind of crossed my mind that I'm like, man, if I were like really invested in this universe and this character more than I am, then this might bother me. But because I'm not, I'm like, yeah, it's fine, because I don't have anything to relate it to. But it crossed my mind that I'm like, I'm about 99% sure that this is not like the Adam Warlock from the Marvel comics. But
it definitely wasn't. But I mean, like I said, the character was fun and it was fine, and I got used to it. But overall, when he first started on the screen and he was just like kind of a dopey type of character type of thing, I was just like, we already have that with Drax. Like, Drax already says really goofy things and is kind of like constantly learning and stuff like that, or stupid, even if you would, based on what, Mantis said to him at one point. But overall, I mean, it was fine. It's just, it was something that I kind of like I said, when it came to nitpicking things, that was one of mine.
Well, to go to what Bobby was asking, I would have to say there's many things I really enjoyed, but the one thing that I could say that really like put a smile on my face was the whole Cosmo Kraglin situation and him calling her a bad dog.
Yeah.
And then at the end during the love battle scene, he's like, "You're a good dog." I was like, yes.
I mean, you knew it was coming. Like, you knew that was good. You knew it was coming.
And it was so good though.
And then the final battle, it couldn't have gotten any better. And it's just like, she's a dog. She's a good dog. And then it's just like, you're just like, yeah, she is. It was just like, let's go. It was great. Like, that was a fun scene. Like I said, you knew it was coming. You just didn't know when it was coming.
Okay, I think I have some of my thoughts together a little bit to where I can say three of my favorite scenes. I have a ton, but three of my favorites One is when the crew is at the they land on the planet of the aliens that
The
the
body
high
planet.
evolution. No,
Oh,
the
the
one that the
Counter-Earth?
high
Oh, the
evolutionary,
counter
counter
Earth.
Earth.
Counter
There you
Earth.
go.
Okay.
And they're at that nice. What are they? Rabbits or I don't know what they are, but they're a family.
Oh, they look like bats,
People.
I think.
Bats.
I think they're
Yeah,
actually
that's true.
wombats.
They want even better, Michelle. Let's go with wombat. So that wombat family, and Drax is trying to lay down, and then tries to go for it again, and Peter calls him out. He's like, "Drax, I see you. You're trying to lay down." And I couldn't help but keep laughing
It
at
was
that part,
good.
just because it kind of reminded me of was it Infinity War? I think when he was trying to act invisible to
Oh
Manus,
yeah.
or no, Manus could see him, and he was trying to pretend to be invisible. So it kind of reminded me of that little throwback. And then the second one was also on Counter Earth when Peter is trying to get Nebula to get in the car, and she's like having trouble. And then he's like, "Okay, I pushed it," and he's like, "Get in the effing car." He's like, it just the F bomb was perfectly placed for it to be the first F bomb in the MCU, and I just thought it worked so well because it made me laugh quite a bit when he said it, because it just kind of was like it fit perfectly because it was the level of frustration that he had, that I think many of us have ever had when somebody's messing around and you're just like trying to get something done. And so there was that. And then the other one was not anything that was necessarily, well, it wasn't funny at all. It was just completely just badass, was when Beastie Boys No Sleep Till Brooklyn came on, and they're
Mm.
in that hallway, and the
Mhm.
way it's shot, and they're all playing off of each other and coordinated. And that's one thing that I will always give the character of Peter Quill credit for, is that he comes up with great plans that work. He even came up with the plan against Thanos, even though he kind of ruined his own plan by
Mhm.
getting upset. But he comes up with these great plans in terms of how to tackle certain things. He's a good strategist, I guess, in that sense. But then it was just like the way it was shot and looked and was performed, and oh man, I that's one reason why I want to go see it again, is just for that scene, because of how well it was executed and how good it looked.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
done super well. It, like, kind of going between like normal speed to then kind of slowing up to a slow mo a little bit, and then it would go back to normal speed and then slow mo. So you kind of would catch really small details and really enjoy a moment, and then kind of go through a few, and then you kind of get another moment. It was, yeah, no, it was a really really awesome moment.
Agreed. I mean, that was actually one of the scenes that I was going to talk about too. Like one of my favorite moments. I'm not a huge advocate for the 3D movement and 3D movies and stuff like that, but you could tell that that one was specifically shot with the idea of, having 3D out there. And I might actually go see it a second time, but watch it in 3D this time, because that scene alone in that hallway where everybody's released, everybody's out, and everybody's fighting together, and they're just destroying everyone, fighting and playing off of each other, was awesome. Was next level awesome. That, and the scene when it's Quill and Groot, and he says, "Kill them all," and Groot has all the guns like just embedded in him. I thought that was great.
I also liked Groot go full gun. What is it when you turn into a big monster?
Kaiju?
Kaiju. He was full kaiju. Just, oh my god,
Just, like,
I
yelling at all
died.
those people.
I
Yeah.
was dying. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Groot going
David, did you
kaiju.
have any that you wanted?
I mean,
mention?
you mentioned the F bomb, and you're right. Like, it's so perfect because you don't expect it in a Marvel movie.
Mm.
And I mean, I guess I was only expecting one because I'd heard about it before I saw the movie, that there's an F bomb in this film. But other than that, yeah, like it's not something you expect. We've never heard in the MCU, so that's why it works so well, because you don't hear F-bombs dropped every few sentences like you do in a lot of films.
It was funny. Your daughter reacted to it.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Oh really?
She's sitting next to me, and Peter Quill's like, "Just get the fucking car," and she goes, "Oh!" She looked at me, and I was like, "It's okay." It was hilarious. It was hilarious.
That's funny.
It was. She literally was like, "Oh, like, oh, he said it." I was like, "He did. It's okay." She had another moment later in the movie too, where she was just her jaw like. She had another jaw-dropping moment later in the movie too, which was really good.
Yeah.
It was when Groot says "I love you." It was cute.
We had somebody who was watching ask about what did we think about the Howard Duck scene when he was playing cards.
Oh,
I like that he threw that in there because that's Seth Green's voice, if I'm not mistaken. And I forgot about Howard the Duck, actually, that he was in the MCU, because typically it had only been James that had been using him, other than I guess when the Russo brothers or people say he's in a quick scene in Endgame when they're all out on the battlefield. But
like
he doesn't, you don't see him like in this where he's playing cards, and it's like, and I kind of wish he had a little bit more in there, but just because it was,
Right.
Just seeing him in there again, I was like, oh yeah, Howard the Duck's there. But yeah,
there are so many like people that are in this movie, but they're not in this movie, but they're in this movie. Like, it's insane how many people are in it, honestly.
Like Nathan Fillion.
Well, and I mean, and Nathan actually has like multiple lines, and he's really kind of in it. But there's even people that are literally in it just for like a hot minute. I guess Pete Davidson's in it, and he plays a character that says one line. And it was the guy that it's after they're basically taking the big ship is exploding, and they're like, oh, we should get the bad guys are going, oh, we should get them. And they're like, what, our only ride off of the exploding ship? No, thanks. I'm going to go with the pilot. Thanks. And so it was that guy. He was like a purple character.
Yeah.
That is Pete Davidson.
I had no idea.
Right. I know. And then now I can't think of his name. He's the guy that played Lex Luthor in the show Smallville.
Michael Rosenbaum.
Michael Rosenbaum. Yeah. He plays a Ravager. He plays the one that's got like the diamond face.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. He's done it in other ones too. He's done it in other ones as well.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Like it's just funny because there's so many people built into it. And then the funny thing is, like, even Sean Gunn does the voice of young Rocket during the movie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I know. He did young Rocket. So.
And he's the stand-in too. So I mean, it's like
the stand-in for Rocket. Yeah. So it makes sense.
That's funny. I think the cameo that caught me the most is one most people probably wouldn't know when Tiffany Smith popped up. Yeah, I'm sure you know, Bobby. Like, she's that person announcing on the monitor, like when they're in that like lobby room. And I mean, I know she used to be on some YouTube shows, and I was like, wow, I didn't know she was in this.
Oh, she was the announcer for that.
Like she's like the spokesperson, like who's like almost like a newscaster or something, like one of those big monitor. And anyway, I remember meeting her once in the press pit at Hall H, and I just thought that was cool that she was in the movie. I wasn't expecting that.
That's funny.
It's funny, Michelle, you mentioned something, and I remember thinking, you talked about the Ravagers, and I remember thinking when they showed them, and they showed how they came onto the ship, and I was like, oh, they're pretty cool. It's like, I would love to see something with them, just that crew, with her and with Gamora and them.
It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see.
That are cool.
They do. Well, now it seems like the Ravagers do seem to have more mutantish powers. It seems like the one guy got himself, some magical rings so he could do stuff like
portals and stuff.
Yeah,
because you see that in that post-credit scene, and that you see him in the post-credit scene of Volume 2.
Yeah,
does that sort of thing.
Yeah, and so it's kind of cool to see that they have these powers. It honestly would kind of make a good Disney Plus spinoff show for a few episodes of Ravengers kind of doing something or having to do something. I don't know if I can see a movie, but a show for sure.
I think Howard the Duck would be a great spinoff series. Like, I mean, if you just did like a 6-episode series for people that recognize him, because I like the fact that he's been thrown in there too, and they've changed his look, and he looks, kind of like this beat up, used car salesmen are kind of like gross. But it's like, I mean, if Seth Green wanted to do something like that, a 6 or 8 episode series of just like 30 minutes of Howard the Duck, I think that would play.
It'd have to be just on the adults only like profiles of Disney Plus. Howard's rough. He's
raunchy.
He's
a raunchy little guy. But I mean, that'd be cool. Like, I mean,
but it would be entertaining to have like an adult Disney Plus show where it'd be like, yeah, you have to have an 18-year-old or something profile or whatever. That would be interesting.
I mean, like they did with Daredevil and everything when they brought it over.
That's true. They did that with the Daredevil show. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was funny. I was thinking, so, at the end of the film, Groot says, "I love you" to everybody. And, David's daughter, her jaw dropped. It was really cute. But then I saw this thing today and I guess I didn't think about it. And it's not, and it's a, I don't know if it's a theory or if this actually is what was intentioned. I have no idea. But they were like, when Groot says, "I love you," it's not that he actually says, "I love you." It's just that we've spent so much time with Groot. Now we understand when he says, "I am Groot," he actually is saying words.
I actually thought that because it kind of happened with Gamora.
Yeah.
Because she understood what it was. And I didn't really think like it was him speaking English. I just thought it was his interpretation of like, oh, we're all understanding Groot now because we've spent so much time, like you just said, around it. I thought about that as a theory.
Yeah.
I had not thought about that.
I hadn't thought about it when it happened, but it I mean, obviously makes sense because nobody
Totally
reacts
makes
to
sense.
him. It's not like they all look at him like, "Oh my God, he said something different." Like,
Correct. Nobody
you know.
nobody had a jaw dropping moment like your daughter's jaw like hit the floor. It was adorable. She was like, "Oh, did I just see like she like lost her mind."
Because honestly, because I think James Gunn did confirm that somewhere that's
I
what's
thought
going
so.
on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
is that
sure.
we just now understand him.
And even if he didn't, it makes so much sense
totally
that's
does.
absolutely what's going on. But since I didn't think about it when I saw the film, I will say it was the one thing that if I have a nitpick, I don't like that.
It bothered me when we watched it too.
Why is he doing that? But as soon as it was explained, I think a couple days ago, I saw something about it too, and I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that
I was
makes
like,
sense."
okay,
Like,
then I'm okay with it. But yes, in the movie, I was definitely like,
I was like, "What?"
I was like, I know your daughter was so excited by it. And I was like, yeah. And I'm thinking, oh no. And
Why is
then,
he
I
talking?
agree.
but now that it's like this is kind of the idea behind it, I'm like, I'm good with that. That's fine.
Because it's such a fun idea. It's such a fun idea
is.
that we can actually understand him. I mean, he went back to being Groot after that, but it was fun.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
good that James Gunn didn't go like out of his way to like try to like, I don't know how he would do that to make it even more obvious like what he was going for there. Like,
Right.
even though I bumped on it during the movie, I'm glad he didn't like try to overdo it with some weird like he's starting to say "I'm Groot" and it morphs into what he's actually saying.
Correct.
I don't know how he would have done it, but I'm glad. However he would have done it, I'm glad he didn't do it.
I will say I was surprised at how quickly Groot rejuvenated in this film. Like after
from when he was ahead.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I know that he regenerates fairly quickly, but that seemed awfully fast to me personally. In my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, it was. But I
was like,
went
I
with
mean, if
it.
the
I was
first
just
film
like,
he has
all right,
like pretty major body parts cut off, like, and they grow back pretty fast. I mean, this is obviously like his whole body, so I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it was like his arm, and even then, that was kind of a slow regenerative. You slowly saw that progress as the movie went on. Whereas this, he went from no body to I have a body again. And I was like, well, that was quick.
It is a different Groot technically, so I guess
It is
he's just
technically
better
a
at
different Groot. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just because he's younger, he can regenerate faster.
I'll go with that.
I don't know. I just thought it was I was just like, whoa, he's a whole body again.
Right.
Oh, wow, that was fast. So
One thing I appreciated, even though it was bittersweet, I appreciated that with the way James Gunn did this movie, he didn't force Peter and Gamora getting back together at the end and having this happy ending. He was like, no, they're different. She's a different person, and she's has different things she's gone through, and it's not the same. And so they didn't force that, even though I was like, oh, that's kind of sad. But at the same time, it was like, yeah, it makes sense. And so It's kind of cool too when you see her go back to the Ravagers. That's like her Guardians family, really, for this Gamora, because the way she was missed by them and chummy with them, and they were all hugging her and stuff. So it was like, oh, she has her own crew. She doesn't, she doesn't have to be with the Guardians crew. But yeah, I thought that was well done as well in terms of making it something that was believable.
No, I thought that was really wise too. I mean, like, you could tell she has a reverence for the Guardians and she gets their camaraderie in their group. But yeah, this is a different Gamora. This is a Gamora that, when you think about when we met Gamora back in Guardians 1 in Volume 1, she was already working her, how can we stop Thanos? She was already a completely different Gamora. This Gamora is much earlier than that. And she was not at that point personality-wise yet. So, yeah, she's a little rough around the edges. And I think she fits better with the Ravengers in that way. Like, the Ravengers aren't necessarily bad. They're like pirates, They're space pirates. So, like, not necessarily bad, but, like, they definitely like laws. No, we don't do those. So, it's a much better fit. And I'm glad that they didn't have her with Peter. It really is like a breakup. It's, hey, like, we don't hate each other, but we're better off not together. It's a nice clean break. He did a good job. I'm very happy it ended that way.
Did you guys feel like going into it, because the promotion, everyone felt like Rocket was going to die and multiple people were going to die in this movie? I never really bought into that. I always felt like, nah, they're not killing Rocket. I don't care what the promotions look like. They're not killing that character. And I thought if anybody was going to die, it was going to be Drax, just because we had already heard from in the past where Dave Bautista was not happy with how James Gunn got fired from Disney. And then he was like, I'm pretty much done with them. And then when James Gunn came back, he came back to be able to be like, all right, he's back, I'm back. But I can't play this character too much longer anyway, even if that wasn't the case, just because I'm getting older and I don't want to have to try and keep having my shirt off kind of thing. And so I thought for sure he would be one that would at least give a sacrifice. And I felt like throughout the movie, they kind of made it look like any one of these characters are about to die. The way they set it up, either somebody's getting shot up or someone's in a situation where, like, there was one scene with not Gamora,
Nebula.
Sister. Yes, thank you, Nebula, where she was on that ship and she had to pilot it. I'm like, all right, she's gonna go down with this ship. She's gonna die. And then it was like, no, but they kept doing these like fake outs. And so when no one died, I was pleasantly surprised and happy. And I was like, all right, I'm cool with this. And I think that from what I could tell, everyone else was happy with that result as well. Whereas sometimes people feel like with Quantumania, a lot of people I remember saying that they felt it would have been better if Scott had died, if Ant-Man had died. And I was like, well, because that would have gave it some stakes. And I was like, well, I don't know that you have to have a character die to have stakes, but you can still put them through the ringer. As you could see in this movie, they were put through the ringer and was still an emotional tale and did a good job with that in terms of being able to tell something that people were on the edge of their seat with and not knowing what was going to happen from moment to moment. So I thought he did a great job in terms of like making it to where everyone had a chance to die, but came out of it, by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah. Like
Quill. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I went into the movie going, okay, I'm mentally prepared. I was thinking I was mentally prepared for Rocket to die. And like as the movie's going on and you're seeing young Rocket, baby Rocket, young Rocket go through all this trauma, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not prepared for him to die. Like it was like, if he dies, I'm so not prepared for this. So I was like, I cannot wrap my head around this. This is killing me. And then it gets to a point where I was like, okay, Rocket's not going to die. But then, yeah, I definitely thought Nebula, when she was going to take control of the ship, and I was thinking she was going to pilot it away from Nowhere so that Nowhere also didn't get stuck in the like explosion situation. And especially when she is like getting Rocket's comm, I was like, oh God, we're going to get a message of Nebula going, okay, guys, you're all off. Great. I'm going to take the ship away from you now. And I was like, damn it, they're going to kill Nebula. I really like Nebula. Like, I was really starting to think that was going to happen. I'll be honest, though, if there was one thing I bumped on in this whole movie, it was the Peter Quill's going to die moment. And it's not like, oh, that they were going to kill Peter Quill. It was just mostly like, they're not going to kill Peter Quill. And I'm watching the scene going, wow, this is a horrible way to kill Peter Quill. And then it was almost like, wow, I am not a fan of the way that they're rescuing Peter Quill from death. Like, it just, that was probably the one scene for me that I was like,
You're talking about when he was out in space and he was frozen over?
Yeah. And then Adam comes to save him. I was like, and then they did the whole like hand of God moment. I was like, oh my, I was like, James Gunn.
That's fair.
Like, you had me, but you went a little too far here. And I was not a fan of that. It seemed really corny and cheesy to me.
I don't think it bothered me as much as it seems like it's bothering you, but I get what you're saying, because I mean, deep down, I was like, they're not going to kill him here. And I will say, if they are going to kill him here, this is terrible.
Yeah.
This is a terrible way for him to go. There's something about the way that this scene is playing out that no. So when he does get saved, I was like, thank God. Like, because if they had actually killed him like this, that would have kind of pissed me off. That would have been a
horrible way to kill Peter Quill, man.
So I guess I was so relieved, even though I was pretty confident that's not what was going to happen. I was so relieved to see him get saved and be like, okay, thank God this isn't what he's doing. That didn't bother me as much. I mean, yeah, the whole little finger touch thing. I for a second, I was like, but whatever. I don't know. I guess overall it doesn't bother me as much as it seems to bother you, but I get what you're saying. That's what I'm saying.
I think Jascha's gonna say something about Peter Quill's death.
No, that was just one. I mean, I was kind of on the train of like something was going to happen to the arc, a major character, and Rocket being on the bridge of, or the closest to death throughout the entire film. I thought it was going to be him. And I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like thinking on a deeper level. It's just like, okay, Bradley Cooper is a big star now. He doesn't necessarily need to do this movie. Like, I'm sure he's doing it just for fun. He may even have kids that are watching this film. I don't know, but it's, just thinking about it, it's like, they're not going to want to do this forever type of thing. And it's like, this would suck, because Rocket is such a fan favorite. He is such a fan favorite. But yeah, and then the Quill scene, with this Quill almost death scene, I was like, this is terrible. Please don't let him die like this. Please don't die like this. I don't want him to die like this. But yeah, I'm glad that nobody died, and we had this really cool resolution for everybody. So I thought that was great.
I agree.
I don't know. There's still part of me that's like, does Bradley Cooper enjoy doing this?
Well, I was just about to say.
I was just gonna say, because like he never does any marketing for it.
He did no press.
You never see him doing press for Guardians movies. Like,
he went to none of the press things. He went to none of them.
I saw him interviewed by Ash Crossan on Entertainment Tonight. That's the only thing I saw, because he was talking about a clip, I think at the premiere, of how emotional it was, and because he had saw the movie. But that's the only thing I saw him as part of the promotion.
I mean, historically, the other two films,
but even with this one,
I'm not saying I've seen no interviews. I think probably I've come across something like you're describing, like a here and there kind of thing. But you see the cast doing the press tour. You would think a big star like Bradley Cooper, even though he's only doing a voice, you think they would be like, no, you're coming along, buddy.
I mean, Vin Diesel's there every single thing. Of course, Vin is, but
take what he can get.
I know.
But,
I know.
It's not like he needs it either.
No, he doesn't.
No, but no, Bradley doesn't walk the red carpet for the events. He doesn't do that. He'll do a couple of press things, but those are very scattered. It's like he he couldn't be bothered to do the voice for the new ride at
that's a sore
Disney
subject
World.
with me.
Like, it's a sore
Well,
subject.
you say, I mean, to be clear, you're saying he couldn't be bothered. We don't know the details why.
I don't know
We
the
don't.
details.
We have no
I'm
idea why
making
he's
a
not the
huge
voice.
speculation, but it was literally for like 5 lines, maybe 6 if you count the end scene.
I mean, our
And he
ongoing thing
couldn't-
is like Disney. You couldn't have thrown enough money at Bradley Cooper to get him to do the voice
You
for the
couldn't,
ride.
you couldn't
Like,
throw him in a freaking recording booth for an hour on a Sunday. I
Is it
mean,
You don't even do it on
geez.
a recording booth. At today's technology, you could just do it over the phone. Like he could
He could do
probably
it
do
at
it
home.
in
Yeah.
his
He could
home.
have
Because
gone
I mean, I've
into
heard
a shower and
Yeah.
just
I've heard
recorded it.
stories of actors and stuff like that not doing it in the studio, but just recording the lines that they're doing from their house. They send them. They'll send a kid or whatever, a mic like we have. I mean, look at everybody's a podcaster nowadays, and we all have a setup and stuff. I'm sure he has something like that as well.
I mean, I'm like, look, Bradley, I get that you live in France and you distance yourself from this crazy place we call United States, and I quite frankly don't blame you. But you couldn't find an hour just somewhere to do that, which that to me implies that his full commitment to Rocket is not the highest.
Again,
There's
we don't
another
know.
comment.
I
So
am
it
making
seems.
huge speculations, and I actually like the actor Bradley Cooper. I am just making, just kind of being a jerk about this one thing.
David, there was
Fully.
another comment. Did you see the?
Yeah, that what is it? Yeah, Bradley Cooper wanted out of Guardians of the Galaxy contract to do Hangover 4. LOL.
Could
Yeah.
you imagine? I mean, you'd almost think at this point it could be true just because of the fact that everybody's bringing back
A remake
these
for
old-
everything.
all the old movies, and so hey, let's give that Hangover another try. But
Right. Yeah, it could be.
it's so funny because there's definitely some things that I just felt like we were talking about a lot of the darkness of this movie, and there's absolutely some dark elements, and there's body horror the elements to it. But one of the things that I could not stop thinking about a little bit after the scene had happened, and even after I left the theater, I was thinking like James Gunn just destroyed an entire planet of like all these aliens. You don't see it explode or anything, but they're all dead. And I was just like, and that poor family that let the Guardians into their house,
Right.
and that Wombat family's gone. And then like even when you see the explosions starting to happen, and I don't know if it was Gamora or whoever it was in the streets running, and right in front of her, that the couple that was holding each other, just
with the kid,
boom,
like,
you're like, you're like, oh my god, this is dark. It's brutal.
It was rough, and like
How's
I
your
said,
daughter reacting to this?
I was just gonna say, David took his kids because his kids have grown up with Guardians. And they love the Guardians, and so we were like, okay, we knew going into it, this was gonna be a rougher one for your daughter.
I knew going into it, like, this is an interesting pick by me as their first Marvel movie in a movie theater.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
in a movie theater. Yeah,
in a theater.
I didn't realize that.
And my son, when we saw the trailer for Guardians Volume 3 in front of Super Mario Brothers, I think it was, he was like, hey, I want to go see that. And I was like, absolutely. And I think especially because we had recently rewatched Volume 2 at home.
We
and
had,
it was fresh in his mind. And I mean, he's 11 now. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. It wasn't actually my intention. That wasn't the original plans to take my daughter. I'll admit it really turned into necessity for the week for us to see it. Long story short. So, but I was like, it's a Marvel movie. And I was hearing the rumblings going into it. Like, yeah, this might be tough on kids. And I was like, really? Of course. The first movie I'm going to the first Marvel movie is going to be the one that everyone's like, I don't know. Like,
I mean, she's almost 8, but she is kind of sensitive, especially when it comes to animals. And that was really, I was like there was one day James Gunn like put something out on Instagram, and I was like, David, are you sure we're ready for this? Like, I was like, oh god. And like, I'm sitting here going, I know she's going to bury her head, and I get that, and that's totally acceptable and fine. But yeah, at one point, like, she got really upset and she was actually kind of crying. And so I put her in my lap and I had my little hoodie and I was like, here, just hang on to this. And then she watched a lot of it at that point. She was actually really brave.
Yeah.
But overall, it's funny though, because I was like, so what did you think of the movie? And she's like, I actually really liked it. I mean, not the scary parts or the guy without the face. And I was like, well, no, not that. She was like, but otherwise, I really liked it. And she really liked the character of Cosmo, so she was very happy.
That's crazy too. Oh, go ahead.
Speaking of the guy without the face.
Yeah, and I've had friends that have posted reviews
about
about
a villain.
I've had friends that have posted reviews about this movie and saying that it's grotesque, don't recommend seeing it, how aggressive and violent it is and triggering. But then on the back end, they say that they watched slasher films the weekend before, and it's not as bad. And I'm like, then I don't know what you consider triggering. Like, look, the animal cruelty is harsh, and that sucks. But it's like the person that does the animal cruelty gets their comeuppance for sure. But the say that it's grotesque and it's triggering and all this other stuff is like, that's a really, really aggressive approach to look at this film when it really is just kind of like the culmination of the story. And to me, it's like you don't have much of a leg to stand on when it comes to that. If you're watching slasher movies the week before, which they say is the person said that this movie Guardians of the Galaxy was just like torture porn, and there's no reason to watch it. And I'm like, that's an aggressive. That's a really aggressive view. But once you make your mind up, around something like that, you're not there to debate or like see somebody else's side or like talk about it. You're just like, this is what it is, and I made my decision about that. But it's like, but yet you're comfortable watching slasher flicks, which I don't even watch. Like, I can't watch those because I think they're gross and I think they're gnarly. Like, even the last scene with the dude losing his face, I mean, I thought that was gnarly, and I was just like, and I kind of looked away. I was like, that's rough. But it wasn't the whole movie. It was the very last, minute and a half, maybe, and they showed him that much. It wasn't like they really put him out there. So,
no, I was back and forth if I wanted to talk about this but since you're bringing it up, Jascha, now I can't help myself. Because I have seen a lot of chatter on Twitter from people that are like refuse to even see the film because of the way apparently they've heard animals are treated in this movie. And I'm like, or people who have seen it who are like so traumatized, like, oh, it's been 12 hours and I'm still like, there should be a warning in front of this film. And I want to be clear, like, I'm not dismissing that there's rough things about this film.
Right.
But like, it's all like, especially the kind of like, oh man, I don't know. This bugs me so much. The kind of like attitude of like, I'm so against like animal cruelty that I won't even see this film. And I'm saying this. I've dabbled in veganism. I hate factory farming. I sympathize with that attitude. But it's not like this movie is like you described. It's not torture porn. It's not like it is like condoning that behavior. It is very much against it.
The whole point of it is to show the horror of it.
Is that this is terrible. Like,
yes,
they save all the animals at the end. They go out of their way to save all these farm animals and zoo animals. Like with all of the other creatures, like you've got that line of Peter Quill, like, well, we got everybody, and it's like, no, like, there are living beings still on the ship. We need to get all of the living beings, not just the humans and the people. Like so that attitude just, it really drives me up the wall. Like, I want to be like, this is why people hate the certain other people like us on the left, like that, like you're taking this extreme like attitude, like that this is like, oh, any little bit of like animal cruelty and I'm against this. I'm not going to see this kind of movie. And I'm like, that's not what this movie's about. And I find that attitude kind of just insane. So
it's a frustrating attitude because the whole point is that it's showing how horrific it could all be. And I just would like to make sure we all understand, like, there aren't real animals.
Animals weren't actually harmed in the making
like
of this movie.
The few times they actually would use a legit animal that wasn't a CGI animal was literally the moment they were just like holding the turtle or they were holding the one bunny. Like, otherwise, those were all computer generated animals. And I'm not saying that we should just accept that we should harm computer generated things either, but like, the point of the whole storyline is that one, there is no perfect world. You can't create perfection. Perfection it's an illusion, and it doesn't exist. And then two, it shows just how monstrous the drive for perfection can be, and it shows that it can create a person into a monster, and just what horrific atrocities someone will go through to try to create this thing, this ideal thing. And I think James is trying to highlight the horrors of all of this. And it's like, I can go on this. I'm with David.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating to me. People are scarring it in this way. And yeah, like, was it easy sometimes? No, not at all. Like, David and I both agree. One of the hardest lines in the whole movie was when little tiny young Rocket, he just says, hurts. My God.
I was like, oh God. His first line is like a baby or young.
The first
Rocket,
words out of Rocket's mouth, the first words he ever says is hurts.
Yeah.
Sweet Jesus. Like, God, I started crying, and that's the point, is to get an emotional reaction to the atrocities that are happening in this situation.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's just hard. They saved all the animals in the end. They all lived. James Gunn is a huge animal lover. I think he's actually plant-based. Like, it's just, it's very hard. Like, so I don't like the haterade that it's getting for that fact. But yeah, man, talk about a bad villain. That was a bad dude.
I mean, yeah, after knowing he was going to be that actor, I don't know his name.
I have horrible pronunciation, honestly.
Knowing he was going to be in this movie after seeing him in Peacemaker, I was like, oh man, he should be great. Whatever he's doing.
Chukwudi, it's the last name.
Yeah, he's really good.
Woody.
He's really good.
Because James Gunn calls him Chuck. So
James Gunn calls him Chuck. It's his last name that I can't.
Yeah,
I always feel bad. It's only 4 letters, and I can't.
I will say with High Evolutionary, the one thing that if I'm nitpicking about the movie, while I did think he was like a horrible person and a villain, and a good villain in that sense because he was so horrible, he was more menacing to me when he was subdued and quiet and sort of matter of fact. But then sort of towards the end, he just started shouting more and being loud. And it was like, he didn't seem he seemed more, I don't know, vulnerable or not as threatening when he was shouting as he did when he was just sort of calm. And
he's scarier when he's in control, and he's not as scary when he's not in control.
Yeah. Which I guess could be on purpose, but yeah, I just noticed him shouting quite a bit towards the end there.
Yeah.
But I thought he did a spectacular job. I thought that was probably one of my favorite villains, actually, in the MCU. I'll have to say he was done extremely. I hated him. He's a horrible, horrible, horrible being. Because I don't think he's human, so we'll say being. Yeah. But he did a great job. It was really good. And that was one of the times your daughter had a rough time, was when he came in and he was attacking all of them, and then Rocket got onto him.
Oh yeah.
That was
rough.
That was rough. It was a rough scene for so many levels.
And kind of change the subject, but like you bringing up like his first line when he says hurt, and how that was like, oh my God, am I gonna cry this early in this movie? Like, but another moment, honestly, that got me was when Nebula reacted to the fact that Rocket was okay.
Oh, that was such a great scene.
Like, a character like her who's changed so much throughout these movies, like that was
for her to care.
Yeah.
Well, it reminded me of in the beginning of Endgame when it was just the two of them out of their whole group on that airplane, or out of that whole group, and Rocket just sat down next to her and just held each other's hand. I mean, I started to cry. I was like, that's fucking beautiful. Excuse my language. I was just like, that's so sad, because they only had each other. They only had each other for a long time.
Right.
Ugh. getting all misty eyed over here.
See it, David. Go to a comment so Michelle can.
This movie's killing me, man.
Wait, what was that, Bobby?
Oh, there's a very
go to
long...
a comment because it brings up a good point actually.
Oh yeah. I can read it. I think the scenes with the caged children may have triggered pedo vibes with the high superior commander. What was he going to do with them? The other adults on the ship had no issue with it. It brings back Thor: Love and Thunder with Gore kidnapping all those children and bringing them to One Wish Planet.
Yeah, that was pretty disturbing, seeing all the kids and how he was manipulating. Right. Like, there's so many levels to this movie, so many layers.
Were all those children girls? I can't remember. Were there any boys?
No, they weren't all girls. I think there were boys in there too.
I think there were boys and girls.
I can remember. I just remember the girls standing out in the sense that it felt like I know he was working on a new planet to bring them to because he was trying to elevate them, and he wanted Rocket's brain to complete the picture and the last puzzle piece for them, and they would have been that next evolution. Yeah, and it makes me wonder because at the end we see at the end credits one of those little girls as part of the new Guardians team, and so I was like, oh, I wonder like what she can do, like what's her thing, other than what High Evolutionary went into as far as saying how they can go this long without getting tired and stuff like that. So maybe some resiliency and stuff, but beyond that, like what else do they have abilities wise?
You're saying they go on like no sleep, no little food. Like it's crazy what he engineered them to be. And like at the end scene, I'm watching it and I kind of got the gist, and I have no idea if I'm correct. I am literally theorizing here, but I kind of got the
before
impression.
You get to it, you kind of are, yeah.
Oh, I am theorizing.
No, you're not. You're kind of correct.
Oh, I am kind of correct. Oh.
About what you're about to say.
Oh, so I theorized that the girl at the end, who is part of the Guardians, has some kind of like a Marvel power. Like her hands light up at the end and glow. And that to me was kind of something that one of the Marvels do. So my theory was that she somehow is a Marvel or has Marvel powers.
And I mean, I'm basing this on what I guess in the end credits, she's credited with the name of like, was it Phyla, or which I guess is Quasar. And I mean, I'm saying this, I know nothing. I'm basing purely on what I've read. Like, I guess there is a descendant of Marvel, like by the name of Phyla Vale or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
And that's the assumption of where that character is going or something. I don't know. But, you think about it in terms of, like, the High Evolutionary apparently created this kid, right?
Correct.
So then I don't know.
Well, and he was sampling from all over the universe and pulling from different places to create his beings. But, I mean, he's, he's trying to create the perfect world. And as soon as he realizes he's not doing it, he just blows it up and goes on to the next. Like, he's just... the whole thing, there's just a lot to unpack with him. Again, I think he's one of my favorite villains from Marvel. He's horrible.
It's kind of funny too how like he seems to has some sort of fascination with Earth in the sense of like he created a counter Earth. He likes Earth music. He seems to only pick creatures from Earth in terms of what we see.
Right.
Not like
it's a whole big universe out there. Why? Is
correct.
I thought about that.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Oh, David, one thing that I'll say that in terms of, even though I know, like I've mentioned many times within this review, that I enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Weirdo.
That one of the biggest criticisms of that movie is when they're in the Quantumania or in the quantum realm and how fake it looks. And I will say within this movie, there are those times to me, like when they're on that living planet thing or whatever, that it looks super colorful and stuff, that it doesn't look real, but it doesn't bother me like it didn't bother me with Quantumania. But one thing that I did notice right away, two things I noticed right away when the movie first starts, is that when they're on nowhere feels like a real place. It felt like it had like a weight to it, in a sense of like lived in actual place. The doors seem real, like the entryways, like the places of inhabiting it. It felt like a actual like created place for them. So there is definitely a difference in the way you can feel something that it does seem like it was a creation of sorts of set design compared to something that's just green screen. And the other thing that I noticed right away, at least within that first scene, when they first show Rocket, I think he looked better than I think I've ever seen him look in
Mhm.
any other movie. I mean, the hairs, individual hairs on him, like everything about him just looked insanely good. I was like, wow, the model, the CG model that they've done is increased infinitely since like we
Oh
first
yeah.
saw him when I saw him in the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah, the time and energy and the manpower they've put into the CGI and the computer work, and especially on Rocket. Again, it's Rocket's story is it's impressive, and it's definitely different from what we were seeing in Quantumania.
I think so. Yeah.
No.
David's like, would you like to have me go on a
No, I'm not going to Quantumania tangent.
We did that already.
So I guess with the we sort of touched on it a little bit, but what did you think of the two post-credit scenes that we got? The first one being the new team that we sort of established.
I'll say quickly, I thought the big credit scene was good with the new team. I know everyone seems to kind of quickly go into, oh man, okay, like there's still a Guardians team. We'll see another like Guardians still in the MCU. And I don't know. I take the point of view of like, yes, like the Guardians in this universe is continuing, but will we actually see like another Guardians movie or more of this team like show up in other MCU films? I don't really know. I kind of think no.
Other MCU films, I would say yes. Other
I'd say if
Guardians
anything,
movies,
maybe
no.
that, but
Yeah.
I would even not be surprised if in an MCU film, like, you know, Bradley Cooper, he doesn't want to even do the voice anymore, right? Like he's
I think Secret Wars is going to be all hands on deck. So I
Yeah,
really think
that's
we'll see them pop up there, even if they're just there shortly or whatever. But yeah.
that's the only thing I was gonna say is, yeah, I don't think we're gonna see any other films that are just for them. I think if we see them again, it's gonna be for very, very major events like Secret Wars. I think they're gonna come into play there. Otherwise, and even then, who knows exactly which Guardians you're gonna get for that? Like it could be, and that's the thing about a lot of the comics is they're all these groups are constantly changing. People are coming in and out, you know, based on what's happening in their personal lives and stuff. And so you could get a completely different mishmash of Guardians even for that down the road. But no, I don't think we're gonna see a lot of them. But like I think for me it was nice to see fresh faces, to really see Kraglin come into his own, especially in that last battle scene where he really hones in using the arrow and his mind and his heart. Really, it's his heart. And I think it's just nice to kind of see his character kind of come full circle and really kind of evolve into, he's a guardian now. He was a ravager and now he's a guardian, you know, like it's nice to kind of see all those stories kind of pull in together and complete and grow.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it too. And I thought the scene at the end with Quill and his grandpa was really cute and really sweet. And even the newspaper clipping saying what it did about Kevin Bacon, which was really funny. But I especially liked it at the very end too. Like, I mean, just to answer your question, it's like, will they come back? I mean, at the end, it said Peter Quill will return. So, I mean,
well, that yes,
it did say that. That is true.
I guess I mean the team of the Guardians, not Peter Quill.
Right.
Is what I'm referring to.
I'm kind of curious where he would pop up, though.
Right.
Of all people,
Yeah.
where would he come in to play at? In what series or what movie? But
yeah, I was kind of surprised by that too.
That one, the post credit scene, I guess, since the first one was a mid credit scene, that one kind of threw me a little bit because I didn't know if that was supposed to just be like some just banter and a joke and just a silly aside, or if they were trying to insinuate something about the son. And I was like, is that some sort of significance to? Because they were talking about how he lives at home and won't even mow the yard or whatever they were saying about him. I was like, why are they talking about this? Like, of all things. So I was trying to place some sort of significance to it, as if it meant something that, you know, they're talking about some character that will show up at some point in time later on, or if it was just you know, just a throwaway banter between him and his grandfather. So I'm assuming it must have just been throwaway banter and just to set up that Star-Lord will return at some point.
I took it as throwaway banter.
That's how I took it. I agree with you. I was kind of confused halfway through listening to him. I'm like, what's
and maybe it's Peter Quill just wrapping his head around having a kid basically do yard chores. He never did that. That's something for him that like that doesn't compute to him because he never did that. Because when he left, he was 8 years old. Like, you know, I don't know. I think maybe for him, he was just trying to understand the whole situation. And the grandfather was like, "Yep, that's what we do. That's how we do things." You know, while he sits there reading the newspaper about like what Jascha is saying, Kevin Bacon's tell all about being abducted by aliens from the Christmas special, and him eating not delicious cereal, by the way. I don't know why he was eating that cereal.
What was he eating?
He was eating the magic spoons.
Oh, he was eating that magic spoon stuff.
He was eating the magic spoon stuff, and that stuff is not good.
I wonder if they paid for that.
They had to have, because that food. First of all, that is not good cereal. Second of all,
I've never had it, but I mean, I hear it's not good.
If Peter Quill is a child of the '80s and he ate solidly good cereal up to the point that he left Earth, he would not be eating that cereal.
He probably would eat magic spoon cereal and go, "What?"
It's probably like, this is not the cereal I remember from Earth.
Catch that, but that was magic spoon.
It was magic spoons. And I'm watching it going, how much money did they throw to get that spot? Because of all the cereals that could have been there, not one I would have thought of.
Ooh.
I was definitely thinking like, you know, give me some cool 80s ones, you know, give me maybe not Fruit Loops, but give me some Tricks. Tricks are for kids. Give me, you know, some Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, like solid.
They could have made some cereal like in the MCU world. They could have had Hope Flakes or something. I mean, because they
especially
are branded with all kinds of stuff.
I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy like on boxes of cereal when I've been to the grocery store recently, and I forget which brand it is, but I mean, there's definitely some marketing going on there. That's funny that they went.
Yeah, I don't know if they partnered with General Mills or with Kellogg's, but yeah, when I saw the magic spoons, it was like, Peter Quill's got to be thinking this is the worst cereal he's ever had. Come on.
That's funny.
Sorry, weird things that I think about when I watch these things.
I mean, I was going to say we're starting to run out of time, but we did get one last comment I wanted to reference really quick. One question for us: did the last scene of them dancing seem out of place for you guys? The slow build up of the song, the lyrics, it seemed off. Was that last song a callback to something played in the first movie? I can't remember. I'll say quickly, I honestly didn't have an issue with it. I was pretty good with it. I don't think it was referenced to anything that I ever referred to. I mean, this is definitely, I think, the most recent song used in a Guardians of the Galaxy film.
Because it went to the Zune went to the 2000s.
But I don't know. It worked for me. Like, you know, I think you could argue like, oh, is the movie overall playing too much into this is the last of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and like it's a big goodbye, and I mean, there's a small part of me that can go, yeah, but honestly, I'm kind of there for it. Like, I'm good with it. Like, I don't think it was actually too overly done. I mean, yes, I guess I would say I think that ending is deserved, and I didn't bump on it myself.
Yeah, I think I had the same thought. At first, I was kind of like, oh, they're getting cheesy, was my first thought, but I was like, yeah, I'm okay with it. It's the end of the Guardians. Like, they're allowed to get a little cheesy. There's been a lot of feels in this whole film, on and off. And, you know, maybe they're having a weird, like, hey, we've been awake for 48 hours straight and we're physically exhausted. And now we're trying to rebuild nowhere and we're trying to make sure everybody has food. And we're all just kind of a little loopy right now. And we all just need a little dance party. I don't know. But I was cool with it, mostly just because, yeah, like, it's a goodbye. It was a goodbye feeling. It just, everybody was on a good note.
Right. Jascha, what'd you think of it? What'd you think of the ending?
Overall, honestly, the music, I wasn't a huge fan of the selection for this time around. I don't know why. The whole movie, yeah. Like I don't get me wrong, I liked the music, I did. I just, for whatever reason, the previous movies resonated a little bit more with me with the movie music selection. And then, you know, the last dance scene, I mean, the more I thought about it, the more I kind of warmed up to it. I was like, yeah, that actually fits pretty good with, you know, kind of like a really nice end of the story adventure for these characters. You know, they're all kind of dancing and they're dancing off into their own sunsets. And I kind of dug it. So I wasn't super mad at that. But overall, when it came to the music, this is probably my least favorite soundtrack when it came to the music that they played compared to the other two.
Yeah, you know what? I would say when it happened, it did feel a little out of place. Maybe not out of place so much as that I didn't necessarily feel like I needed it there at that moment. And I was like, okay. And then sort of like Michelle said, you know, it was earned, and so you kind of went with it after. And like Jascha said, you kind of warmed up. I kind of warmed up to it as well. But initially, I did was like, oh, really, like one more, and so then it kind of just went. And then I think mostly I just thought in terms of when he's saying that, or her, I'm not sure, that when it happened, did it take place like that as a callback to the first movie? I don't think so, other than, you know, they had their dance off thing, but I don't think other than when they dance, if anything, it means it would be like a callback to me for the Christmas special, because I think they did do something similar to that towards the end of that special. And so I'd say, yeah, that kind of would be reminiscent of what they did there, as opposed to the first movie. But yeah, I initially did bump and then kind of got over it. But I think where I really was happy the most with the music selection was at the end, and when Rocket plays Come and Get Your Love, and it's like that, it's full circle, you know, in terms of bringing everything back and them going out and fighting those creatures to that song. I was like, yeah, that's a perfect bow tie.
We lost Michelle's camera, but she's still here.
My camera died.
Yeah.
But at least it made it through most of the show.
Yes, made it through most of the show. Should still be able to hear her, but yeah. Anything else, guys? I know I think we've hit everything.
I think so.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to unpack, I think, in this movie, but I think we've covered almost all the major hit points.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it again for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, it was something I thought about like right as the movie ended. I was like, this was long enough and heavy enough that I'm like, I'm not ready to like see this tomorrow. but like, I'm like, okay, a week or two. Yeah, I would definitely watch this again. And like I said, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of Volume 2, so I was very happy with how this turned out.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Real quick, there was one more comments in there about what trailers we saw, and I'll just say I saw pretty much all the same trailers that you had listed out, and I think that for every trailer that was listed or that I saw in the theater, it seemed to impact me more seeing it in the theater than I had been watching it on my computer monitor, like The Flash, like I think you mentioned, what was the other one? The Marvels and stuff like that. Marvels. I was like, yeah, they all seem to hit me a little bit more seeing it in the theater than it did when I was just watching them at home. Sort of like how you mentioned, David, when you saw the trailer for Little Mermaid in the trailer in the theater, it kind of hit you a little bit better than it did at home just watching it. So,
well, in that case, I hadn't even seen that trailer at all before.
Okay.
But yeah. Like that trailer. Once I saw that whole trailer, I was I'm like, okay, I'm a little more positive on Little Mermaid than I was based on clips I had seen. I'm still pretty skeptical of that movie, but
I think I'd only seen just stills online of things, and I was going, oh no, this looks this doesn't look awesome. But then I watched the trailer and I was kind of like, okay, this doesn't look as horrible as I was thinking this could be.
I mean,
so
especially
we'll just have
this-
to see.
Especially the stuff above water, like
Yes, the stuff above water looks good.
looks good. Like it's going to be the underwater stuff. That,
Yeah.
Which I mean, this Little Mermaid. That's a lot of this movie.
It's over half the movie. It's going to be underwater.
But I didn't see I had seen the Blue Beetle trailer. I think in front of something else I saw. I don't think we saw it in front of this.
What was
but
it? Was it in front of Mario?
I think it might have been in front of Mario.
Yeah.
But I've seen that before, and I think it looks fine.
I mean, like I've been wanting to see Oppenheimer since the day we knew Oppenheimer was coming out. So since we knew that movie was being made, so like I saw that trailer and I was like, "Yep, nope, shut up and take my money." Like I'm here for that.
yeah, and I can't remember if we talked about that Marvel's trailer really on the show at all. But if
Was
we
it the same
haven't,
one that was released a few weeks ago?
yeah, it's the same.
It's
trailer,
the same
but
one. Yeah.
I was stuck getting popcorn. So.
I'm a fan of that trailer. I watched it and I was pleasantly
Yeah,
surprised.
I like it.
I like that trailer. I think it looks pretty good. So
Yeah.
I'm fingers crossed that's because that's our next Marvel movie, right? I mean, I'm not missing something. So
Yeah.
I'm fingers crossed that we got
Yeah, that's
another
June.
good one coming.
Right? It's June?
No, that's
not that
November.
soon. I think in November.
Oh,
yeah.
November? I don't know.
Yeah, you got it.
No, I think that trailer, I think it looks fun.
Right.
That's what I will say. I think it looks fun. Do I think it looks good? I don't know yet.
I to say yeah.
I think it looks,
that
I think it looks
good.
fun.
It definitely looks fun. Yeah.
It looks like it'll be a fun movie.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Unless you guys have
All
anything
right.
else?
That's it.
All right. That's it. Thanks, guys, for joining us in our review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We'll be back next week with something, or whenever we get to stream again. But thanks for joining us. As always, we'd love to hear back from everyone listening and watching. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can leave questions and comments down below, or even if you're watching us on Twitch or Facebook, wherever you're watching us, we'd love to hear from you. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at Flickr_effect. With that, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Jascha Wilson.
And I'm Michelle Hillard.
In the darkness.
I'm the
Cannot see
invisible Michelle Hillard.
Thanks for listening and watching, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.